Fiio FH5S. Now this is a sexy looking IEM. Now I don't like to use the word sexy for IEMs, but come on, just look at it. It just looks so good. And here are some promotional photos from Fiio themselves. I didn't take these ones. These ones are from Fiio. I'll label them correctly. But oh my god, dude, they look so good in those promotional photos. And now that I have them in hand, they look just as good, if not even better, in hand. They're probably one of the best looking IEMs I've ever held. It just looks so modern, it's sleek, it looks like it's highly, precision engineered, stuff like that. It just looks gorgeous, right? But now the burning question is, does it sound as good as it looks? In this video, that's what we're gonna be finding out, so stay tuned after the unboxing. Unboxing time, FH5S. This is a really cool looking box. There's a little bit of a, detail in the background here. You have the FH5S right here and the big picture of this sexy IEMs right here. You guys have information on the IEM down here. On the back, there's more information on the IEMs. You have some switches on these IEMs as well. Bass boost, mid boost, and treble boost. We'll talk more about that later. On the side, you have Fiio. The other side, you also have Fiio. Push out the sleeve like so, and you get the box inside. And that's really nice looking, I gotta say. They did really well with the presentation on these IEMs. Open this up, and you have the IEMs that's sitting inside right there. This is the carrying case. It's really big. I don't know if I'll ever use this, but here are the IEMs. Removing the first layer will reveal an assortment of accessories. Here are the tips up close. I'm currently using the pair that's missing on this side. That's the bass boost, there's vocals, there's the balance, and there's the foams. There you go. You also get these interchangeable plugs, which I love. There's a 4.4, there's a 2.5, and I'm using the 3.5 right now on the IEMs themselves. Cleaning tool, of course, because cleaning tools, right? You need them. Hey friends, Tim, welcome back to another video on Giz Audio. Today we have the Fiio FH5S, and this is like my 10th time doing this intro video because I do not know how to approach these IEMs. I'm just gonna come out clean and say it. These are not for me. They're pretty much the opposite of what I want in an IEM. For my personal taste, I'm not saying for your taste, you might like it. For my taste, I don't like it. For one big reason is that everything from mid-range and up feels weightless. It feels thin, it's too bright, and it doesn't have any authority to any of the hits from mid-range and up. Now the bass, let's talk about the bass, let's jump into it right now. The bass, if you're using the wide bore tips, or the bass boost tip that is provided with the box is in here. If you use these tips, they sound better. There's more bass and the sound is more open. Feels slightly bit less congested, slightly bit wider. So I do suggest you using these tips. And from this point on in the video, actually, I'm gonna be reviewing the FH5S from the point of view of using these tips, because the original sound with the balance tips, the default tips, they don't sound that good. It sounds extra thin, and the bass, the low end, is very kind of poorly done, I would say, with the balance tips or the regular tips. So from this point on, we're going to be talking about these IEMs from the wide bore tips perspective only. So with these tips on, the bass is thumpy, is powerful. I would say it even rivals the FH5 in terms of, the bass power, the thumpiness, the punchiness. So it's really good there. I enjoy the bass in that department. Sub bass, you get a little bit of sub bass. It's really not the focus of these IEMs. If you want a true sub bass kind of rumbling feeling, the FH3 does it better than the FH5S. It is there, it's just not the highlight. Now, let's get into the mid-range. So the mid-range here, this is where majority of my music lives. I listen to a lot of male vocals, female vocals, orchestras, jazz, pianos, guitars. They don't sound good on these IEMs, for me anyway. It comes across too thin, too weightless, nothing hits with authority. Everything kind of lives in your head in a way, just lives up here, and you don't feel anything down here. Like there's no power, there's no meat behind the notes. And that's the biggest deal breaker for me when it comes to these IEMs. So I was trying to think of an example that everyone can relate to, and I think everyone who lives in the US would know this song, or anyone who watch any kind of sports game like soccer or football, you guys will know this song. And this is We Will Rock You. Yeah, doom doom ch, doom doom ch. That sound that sound. It's supposed to sound thunderous, it's supposed to sound roaring and powerful, you know? People stomping in unison and clapping. It's all a powerful thing, you know? It makes you feel like you're in the moment, you're cheering on your favorite team. On these IEMs, instead of sounding like you're using your feet to stomp, it sounds more like you're using like a wooden staff to like stomp or to hit the floor. Just imagine that really quickly. Imagine the sound of your feet, and then now imagine the sound of a wooden stick hitting the floor instead. It just sounds thin and in the air. It doesn't have a lot of meat to it. Now, like I said, some of you might love that. Some of you might be listening to me right now and saying, Timmy, that sounds like the perfect IEM for me. And by all means, it could be. If this is the exact sound signature you're looking for, it very well could be. So I'm not gonna say this is bad, it's just the opposite of what I want. Now on to the treble, and these are too much. I would say it's too much. I wouldn't say it's bad treble. I'm just saying there's too much of it. It's a little bit imbalanced with how much you get in the mids and how much you get in the bass. It just feels like everything is leaning bright, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video. Now these do have very, very crispy details though, really good details, and sometimes it comes across too much. Like I said again, like there's nothing bad about the treble, there's just too much of it. It's just too imbalanced. The detail is there, but it feels a little bit too forward, and with how little you get in the mid and the bass, the details here, it feels overly sharpened. It's actually distracting at times to listen to. It feels overall, again, very thin and almost metallic-y kind of feeling. Now, if the mid-range was more stacked and had more weight, it would balance the sound out quite a bit more, and it actually makes it feel more natural. And then I might appreciate, you know, the crispy details. But when there's just crispy details and pretty much barely any mid-range, it just feels super thin and overly sharpened at times. So overall, I would say this, it's just not the best tuned IEMs. It just doesn't work. The low end with the very kind of weightless mids and super sparkly highs with great details, it just doesn't blend well together, and it feels distracting to listen to music for me on these IEMs. Imaging and soundstage. Now these are just all right. You can tell where the instruments are coming from. There's a little bit of layering, so some instruments feel closer, feels further. You get both of those qualities, but you don't get a picture perfect imaging where you can't really close your eyes and pinpoint exactly where each instrument is. But again, you can tell the general direction they're coming from. So for me, that's pretty decent. That's pretty average for this price point, I would say. Nothing to complain. Soundstage is where this thing impressed me. It has a pretty big soundstage. Now, actually, when I was switching from this to the FH5, just A and Bing these IEMs, the FH5 sounds just a little bit more claustrophobic. Yeah, it feels a little bit more congested after listening to these IEMs. Now, the FH5 doesn't have bad soundstage. It has average soundstage. It kind of lives in your head and outside your head a little bit in a way, but it feels small when I listen to these and switching over to the FH5. So soundstage is where this thing does wonders. It does really good. I really enjoy the soundstage off of that. So lastly now, what is my verdict on these IEMs? We're gonna do the comparison with the FH5 and FH3 in a different video. So this video doesn't last way too long. I feel like I've been ranting for a while. But with these, my verdict, I would say, if you own the FH3 and you're looking whether or not to upgrade to the 5 or upgrade to the 5S, I would say if you love the FH3, if you love it, you love the signature of the FH3, the FH5, the original FH5 is a better upgrade. It's a more direct upgrade, and I think you would enjoy that more. If you own the FH5 and you're wondering if you should get the FH5S or not to upgrade, I would say that these two are very different IEMs, and I wouldn't say this is an upgrade to this in any way. If you love the sound signature of this is gonna be quite a surprising listen for you. I would say that with these IEMs, it's either a love it or a hate it. So I definitely suggest you go and try these out first. Try these out before you make any purchase decision. Now, of course, you should do this with all IEMs, but not all of us have that luxury, especially living in the US. Like for me in Las Vegas, there's no IEM store. Normally, I just blind buy and I get stuff in, I listen to it. If I don't like it, I sell it. With these, I don't recommend you take that risk. I would say as much as possible, try to find a unit that you can test out, because again, it's either a love it or a hate it type of sound signature. It's very different from the FH5. If you're an FH5 owner, I would say skip this one. If you're an FH3 owner and you love the sound that's coming out of these, I would upgrade to the FH5 first. I wouldn't upgrade to the FH5S. Now, having said that, there is one IEM that I would suggest people upgrade to. If you own the FH3 and you're looking to spend $250, right? Or $260 for the FH5S, I would say save up $30 more and get the Man-Gird T. Yep, the Man-Gird T. It's $300 and it blows all of these IEMs out of water. It is superior to the FH5. It is far superior to FH5S, and it's only $50 more than the FH5 and $30 more than the FH5S. All right, guys, that's it for my review of the FH5S. If you owned the FH5S before, you're listening to them, let me know down below if you agree with my opinion or not. Oh, one thing I forgot to say, the switches, the mid switch and the treble switch, they don't really do much. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Sorry, it's at the end of the video, but they don't really do much. The bass boost option lowers the treble a little bit. It doesn't actually boost the bass, it lowers the treble a little bit. And I do recommend you turn on bass boost and use the wide bore tips. There you go, I got that all the way. That's it for my review of it. Test those out first before you buy it. 100% test those out first. It's a signature that's quite, again, love it or hate it. But yeah, with that being said, I'll see you guys in another video. The next one, I don't know. I don't know what I would want to review next. Maybe I'll go with something cheaper. I think Blonde Mini is in order. I do have a Blonde Mini. I will probably review that one next. Yeah, I'm really quite excited about that macaroni. So yeah, with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, bye.